Wow. It's not every day you can say that you're in the car with George Michael.
Let's go outside in the darkness. We're outside birdies and we're not getting fish and chips.
That's just mad. Now, tell me a wee bit about you, because, you know, George
Where do we
Michael's
start?
no longer.
Where do we start? 1991, well, 1989, I left school and I became a labourer for a local builder.
Right, okay.
And I was quite happy in that little world, mixing cement and, you know, all that sort of labouring side of things. And then as we sort of got more and more work, we ended up contracting all around the country, and I ended up on building sites, big building sites with lots of blokes that used to go out drinking every night. And if you stayed in the B&B, you was a wuss. So everybody had to go out. And karaoke came out. Good old karaoke comes out. And if you got up and sang back in the 1991, you got a free pint.
Right,
and
okay.
at that time with the boys, that's all you wanted to do was to,
yes,
you know, have a few beers.
Have a few beers.
So that was basically the start of it. It was me singing on a few karaoke machines. And I wasn't singing George Michael at the time, which is the funny thing. I'm not joking. I was wanting to be Marty Pellow. I love Wet, Wet, Wet. And
I could see that, actually. I could see a wee bit of Marty there as well.
I loved Marty, especially, you know, all that early stuff, Angel Eyes, Sweet Little Mystery and all that. And I just, my love is taking a tumble, but I'm still standing. It's too Georgie now, though, isn't it? It's like Marty's wanting to be George, isn't it? No. So yeah, I wanted to be Marty Pellow, you know, because he did that Beatles one, didn't he? What would you do in that one?
Yes.
And the guy actually said to me, mate, he said, I actually think you can sing, and I think you sound a bit like George Michael, because he was at #1 at the time with Elton, doing Don't Let the Sun. Yes. He said, I'll tell you what we'll do next week, we'll try Don't Let the Sun. I said, if it gets me another pint, I don't mind. Put me on all night, and that's how I was, you know. So it was this karaoke guy's idea that I sang George Michael, and then I did the song, and then the week after we did another one like, let's do Faith. That's a great, I've got that one on the machine, because at the time there was only a little limited amount of songs.
Yes.
You know, they weren't like the catalogues they have now. And so I just started just doing this for fun in the karaokes, and he made a tape of me. I took it home, and I gave it to my partner, and she said, I thought you were staying in when you went away, we're saving up for our mortgage deposit. And I said, well, I've been lying to you. I've been out partying every night. And telling little fibs. But I just said, I explained to her that you couldn't stay in. You weren't allowed to.
Yes.
And so behind my back, then I gave her this tape of me singing. My mum and my partner sent this tape off to Stars in Their Eyes. Can you remember Stars in Their Eyes?
Oh, God, Stars in Their Eyes.
Tonight, Matthew, I'm gonna be. And it was that. So the tape went in without me knowing.
Yes.
And then I got a call from Granada TV saying, we've got a tape of you singing as George Michael, would really be interested in an audition. And I went, no thanks. Boom, put the phone down. Right. And they contacted me back in and said, no, we get this all the time. This is a genuine, you know, we've got your tape. We are Granada TV. Here's our number. Call us back if you like. We want an audition from you if you can. If you're interested, we'd love to see you in Birmingham. So I said, OK. So I did ring them back after a good chat with my mum, and my mum's Irish, and she says, oh, rubbish, just go on with you, and just give it a go, you know. That's how she thinks she talks like that. And yeah, so I just did it, and I went to the audition, and to cut a long story short, I got to the on the show, which was an amazing achievement considering I'd just done about, you know, a few karaokes. Went on the show, and I did Faith on the show with a leather jacket and all that, and it was '94 when it was aired. And I got to the final, and guess who beat me in the final?
Who beat you?
I feel it in my fingers, I feel it in my toes. Yeah.
Oh no!
Marty Pellow, good old John Finch, good lad. Yeah, imagine that.
That is weird.
That was weird, and I know, because when we was in the final together in the hotel, because we would be singing up late at night, I was as much a Marty Pellow fan as he was. So it was like George Michael really wanted to be Marty Pellow. Anyway, so that was the situation. Anyway, so I left there, went back to the building sites for about 6 weeks, and at that time the mobile phones came out, the Nokias, and they was like that big, with an aerial that you pulled out, and I had the mobile on my belt, and I was still trying to work doing the labouring because I'd just got a mortgage. I did get the mortgage, by the way. And the phone was just going all the time from TV, the Granada, saying, look, we've got an agent that wants you to open a supermarket, you know, we've got somebody that wants you to sing in a nightclub, and all these little bits of offers came in. Nothing major, no big breaks. But it was quite an interesting time because I'd never been in that position, and it was nice to be in that limelight for that short period of time. You know, it was in the Sun newspaper, or
Yes.
you know, whichever one it was in at the time. So it was good, and I got quite, I liked that. I thought, oh, that was nice. But I went back to work. The phone started ringing more and more. I decided to have a go at doing the live circuit.
Yes.
And then 25 years later on, here I am in Edinburgh after that. But there's been loads more to tell you.
What I want to ask
Go
is,
on.
the real George Michael,
Yes.
did he ever see you?
Yes, he did.
What did he see, and where was that?
I was I got on the road doing all the gigs, and I did a George Michael set, and then I did a short nightclub appearance thing that I used to do called Wham Bam, and I had an Andrew Ridgeley lookalike, and we was doing a bit of a tour around all the nightclubs back in the 90s, and one of our groups of work was this pub chain called, I think they were like Green King or something like that, and they'd bought all these properties that were pubs in and around London, and they did them up and turned them into like rock bars, like Chicago rock cafes, which I did that as well. Anyway, I was singing away one night, and I looks down, and lo and behold I can see George Michael stood right in front of me, sort of where that car is, with a cap on, bit like how I am to us tonight. I'm covering my bad hairstyle. But so there he is, and he was actually with Andrew Ridgeley and a couple of other guys.
Whereabouts was this?
This was in Harrow in North London, and it was called the Cine Bar. If anybody was in the Cine Bar in 1997, September, I can't remember the date because I remember it so well, and he just kind of gave me the thumbs up, and I thought, is that like another lookalike or something? So I went backstage when we finished, and I said to my friend Simon that was with me, I said, I reckon I'm sure I've just seen George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley. He went, don't be ridiculous. Anyway, so I thought no more of it. So all I got was like a thumbs up. As years went by, I still maintained doing the George Michael gig, and I got invited to Sony offices to do a promotional thing for Sony for George Michael's album. And so I went down to Putney Bridge, where the offices are in London, and I sort of had to go in, sing a few songs, and just look like George Michael. And then I said, "What's this about?" And they said, "Oh well, we're releasing George Michael's album 25 Live in November of this is we've jumped into 2006 now. Sorry, I've gone right on.
No.
So we've moved into 2006, and they said that George is on tour in Europe. We really want to get this album to #1, obviously because of all of our history, but George still had one more, I think, album to let them sell, so they wanted to make it #1. There was loads of other really big acts releasing on the same day, Jamiroquai, Sugar Babes, loads of Westlife. It was just like loads of brilliant acts, but they really wanted George to be at #1. So they said, what we want you to do is pretend to be him. So you're gonna have his car, you're gonna have security, we're gonna get out at various destinations where people will be thinking that George Michael's turning up to sign CDs. And I went, you're joking, aren't you? And they said, no, that's exactly what we want you to do. You can sing along if you want, sing a couple of songs if you want. I'm like, this is just bizarre. So anyway, I was on holiday in the Gran Canaria, and they rang me and said, we need you tomorrow. And I went, oh, I'm on holiday, mate, sorry, I can't do it. They said, no, we really do need you tomorrow. We'll fly you and your family back to England, and then we'll send you back again. And I went, well, I'm not sure my partner's going to be liking this, because we don't get many holidays. Anyway, so we had a discussion. He says, oh, you better go and do it. And anyway, I went to do this promotional thing for George. It went ever so well. I sold 100,000 copies by midday. I think it was Monday the 16th of November. Yeah, these dates sort of remember. And then
and people knew it was you.
No, people actually thought it was him. This was really, really bizarre. I mean, I'm not sure, because I had people with me with it was proper like. It was like a movie.
So do they still think to this day?
Well, yeah, there's probably people with a CD at home with my signature on it that it says George Michael.
So where was the real George at this point?
He was in, I think he was either in Germany or Austria, one of those sort of places on tour with his, with his band.
So you were the pretend George Michael.
So I pretended to be George Michael in order to sell his album for him, which was really odd. And I tell people that, and they go, "What? George Michael doesn't need a lookalike."
Sony are gonna go, yeah, this guy's talking rubbish, but they're not.
No, I'm not. It's dead true, honestly. So anyway, at the back of that, I ended up getting, a nice picture from George signed saying, "Thank you, Robert. It was an amazing day." Got a nice letter from him, and I went backstage to meet everybody backstage, including George and the band and everybody. So I'm stood there talking to Andy Stevens, who was his manager, and I'm not in my George Michael mode because I didn't want to turn up to Wembley Stadium looking like George Michael. So I'm just in like my civvies. I've had a shave and I'm totally not looking. I'm looking more like Matty Pello on a good day, by the way. Then, still going back to Matty. Anyway, I said to his manager, you know what? I'd really like George to see me all done up, and doing my thing. And he said, we've seen you. He's seen you loads of times. And I said, don't be ridiculous. He said, no, honestly. He said, the first time was in like Harrow or something in the 90s. He said, he's been to loads of your gigs. And I went, you are having a laugh. So the story came back to me. I actually did see him in that venue in North London. And Andy Stevens, his manager, said they were on their way back from a meeting with Sony to do with the album cover there was a Wham album in the 90s called If You Were There. It was like a relook. I think ABBA did it first with ABBA Gold, and then Wham did it, and they was planning the front cover on the way back from the meeting, and it said at the side of the road, Wham tribute tonight, and they literally pulled in, and that's how he ended up first ever seeing me. And then,
what a story from the man himself.
Yeah, I know.
From the man himself. That's weird though, isn't it, that Sony paid you to be George Michael?
It's ever so weird, but it's really nice that this guy that was such a hero, I mean, he's a massive hero of mine anyway. I mean, lots of the 80s people were, but George Michael in particular. I was never a Wham fan, so I had to learn all them songs, but the Faith era for me was just like the most amazing time. I thought he was just a genius. You know,
obviously
at that
now
time.
that he's passed away, I take it demand for you has just soared.
Yeah, the last two years, last 2 years has been a real eye opener. There's just, to me, there's just been too much greed. I think people have just gone mad for it, and I'm not like that. I'm not interested in it. So I've kind of stepped back in, as much as I could. I've kept all my regular venues that I've always done, but then all the others that came on board, I've kind of had to say no to, because I didn't want to overdo it and overkill it, which I could have done. I could have done all these theatre tours that are doing the rounds at the minute, Fast Love and Faith and all that. They did ask me to do it, and at the time, I said, look, the guy's just died. You know, this is like a week after he died, and I'm getting calls to do theatre shows. And I said, no, I'm sorry, I just can't do it. I can't, it was like I said to other people, it was like living with a family bereavement, because I've sank myself into this character for 20 odd years, you know what I mean? And it's almost like you're living and breathing. You know, I'm not only just doing the songs, you're doing the actions, the movements. You're looking out for any bit of, you know, thing that's happening in his life, which was, you know, pretty bad towards the end. I think he decided to give up, you know.
Do you own anything of his?
I'm not sure whether I think I've got a book signed and I've got the picture. I could have had a jacket. Somebody was selling a BSA jacket years ago. From the Faith tour, and I could have bought it pretty cheap. It was actually up in Scotland as well, and I didn't buy it, because it was just slightly too small for me. I'm a bit of a beefy.
And have you got any other Scottish links other than being here today at Bertie's?
Yeah, well, I've been coming up to Scotland for years, doing gigs in Falkirk, Larbert, Grangemouth at the hotel there. I can't remember what it's called now. It might be called the Grangemouth. Falkirk. Edinburgh, been to Edinburgh a few times. I've got no family up here. Like, my mum's Irish, my dad's Italian, so it's a bit weird. Born in Scunthorpe.
No Greek.
No Greek, no. But funnily enough, George Michael's dad's Greek, and his mum's like English-Irish, I've been told. It's like there's a mixture. So my mum's Irish and my dad's Italian, so there's a fairly similar mix up there. And we were both born in the UK. But what was really nice about him was, in 2014, he was doing an interview in a magazine called Q. You've probably heard of it, the Q magazine. And one of the, you know, he had that short hair with that beard, that like real sharp goatee that went like that. I think I was told that the interview was trying to make out that he looked a bit like Ringo Starr at that time.
Right, okay.
So he was having a bit of a joke saying, oh, does anybody ever accuse you of being anybody else? And George Michael turned around and said, yes, I'm often told I'm Robert Lamberti. He's a George Michael tribute or something like that, look-alike.
See, that's brilliant.
Yeah, and just to receive that as well was just, it was almost amazing. Like a blessing that, you know, he said that. It's such a really nice thing. So he was always aware of what I was doing, and YouTube came out, and apparently would watch videos and keep up to date with what I was doing. So that was really nice. And I know a few of his relatives as well.
Would you do a movie? I'm wrapping this up in a sec, but would you do a movie like with Freddie Mercury? Enough, obviously has done.
That would be an amazing thing to do. I think, you know, even if I got to just sing some, you know, I know like there's a guy called Mark Martell who did all the vocals
Yes,
for
for Freddie.
even if I could do some of the singing, I'd love to have a go at the acting. Whether I could do it as well as somebody else, I'm not sure. But
And have you been approached?
I've just been, funny enough, I've been approached this week by an American company called Reels, and they do a program called The Price of Fame, and they do like a little bit of a documentary on certain pop stars. I think they've done Prince and Bowie and people like that. They've even done Shania Twain, and they've been in touch, and I've actually done 2 auditions by my phone, doing some acting bits. So I'm waiting to hear from that. So that might come off. So that might be interesting.
That's cool. And a film potentially in the future.
Oh, a film would just be a dream, wouldn't it?
Amazing.
It'd be a dream. You know, that would be the ultimate. I think a film on the level of like the Bohemian Rhapsody. That would be amazing. Yeah. What would you call it? Freedom.
Oh,
Like
I think
his
so.
documentary?
Probably Freedom,
Yeah.
something like that. Now we've had a brilliant interview, and I
Thank
know
you.
you've been singing all night.
Mhm.
Is there anything you can do a cappella for me in the car that I can see? I'm here.
I'd say love was a magical thing. I'd say love would keep us from pain. Had I been there, had I been there, I would promise you all of my life. But to lose, you would cut like a knife. I've just realised we've got somebody in the back here with us. Let's go outside. Yeah,
Let's go
so yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you so much. If
What
anybody's
a-
out there, come along to the Edinburgh gig with my band. I'm doing a gig in Edinburgh in April or May. Can't remember the date now.
I'll find it out. I'll put it on the bottom
Yes,
of
it's
this.
is it the Festival Hall?
Oh, yeah, probably, yeah.
Is it the Festival Hall?
I'll find out all the details for you.
I should know all this. I should know
That's
it.
all right. Listen, you're in your car. Please drive safely.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.